Jesus never said, "Blessed are the nice."
I am not asking for any kumbaya. You see, I am not a preacher.
Hi, and welcome to our Bible study channel.
Energy. 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 You cannot fuck with this. Energy. You cannot fuck with this energy. All those in the session, all of those who are listening, don't miss the message, judging me. You cannot fuck with this energy. Energy.
These are videos that go pretty in depth. First thing you should probably do is pause and read our 12 rules for reading biblical text. And if you don't like the 12 rules, or you don't understand the 12 rules, well, I don't have time to explain them all. Go back to the book that I wrote and uploaded on this channel, which takes you through the entire arc and how we made these quote-unquote 12 rules as a framework of what we found after 7 years digging meticulously and carefully through the text. So if you're confused, go do that. If I refer back, well, that's probably because we actually post these things in order. So they're all done in series. And if you jump in at the middle of a series without any schema or background knowledge, and you get all pissed off, well, that's also not our problem. This is a group where we go line by line, scroll by scroll through the text. Warning, we are not language sensitive, so if you can't handle some cussing, it's not the place for you. We also do not endorse nor approve of pretty much any mainstream theology. So if you're looking for that, also definitely not the place for you. We do a video about the characters that we use in our Bible study series. And the reason we do this is sort of so that they can kind of get in your head. So we do have a video explaining why we chose the people we chose and how their sort of energy characteristics go along with the biblical characters to modernize it for people so they know what the heck we're reading. Clearly, the Roman Church was not doing their job and looking for the lost sheep of the reunited House of David. So that's what we're doing, okay? We're taking that away from them because they screwed it up. The brilliant rabbis also down there in Babylon are also not looking for the lost sheep of the reunited kingdom of David. So you're not going to hear, let's follow Rome. And you're not going to hear, let's follow the rabbis on this channel. Because, you know, sorry, not sorry, but the Bible wasn't actually written for the corrupt Levitical priesthood post-Babylon and Persia to read it through their little janky books. And it also wasn't written to be read through the eyes of pagan 4th century church fathers. So we're not doing that either. You guys can both have a seat. Oddly enough, the Bible also wasn't written to be read through the eyes of some dumbass scholars with pieces of paper that say they're smarter than everyone, but have never seen a Davidic Covenant in their life. Not written for them either. You know who it's written for? It's written for the reunited House of David, who are actually in covenant and are actually the sheep. That's who it's written for. That's why nobody else can understand what the heck's going on. What you are going to hear is what you're supposed to hear, which is, let's follow the king. And let's get started.
So, we are going to war.
Yes. And welcome back. Welcome back. I feel like it's been a really long time that I've been gone. But that's just because I'm old, and I guys, I had to go all the way to New Orleans to get my daughter, who's moving home. Yay. Oh my gosh, you have no idea how happy I am to have her ass out of New Orleans and back home. Buildings are so beautiful. I like the brick face wall and the apartments and the fireplaces. But I'm really glad I don't live there anymore. So she grew out of it. She grew out of it, which is, I'm very thankful for that. I think this Mardi Gras season, she was living down in the warehouse district right downtown, and she said, oh my gosh, the parades are coming. I can hear the drum beats of war approaching my apartment. Get me out of here, Mom. So that was lovely. But driving the U-Haul and packing and schlepping stuff, feels like that was took 3 years. So we're back. I'm recovering. Slowly but surely. Dear God, my body can't do that shit anymore. All right. So where are we? I have no idea where we are. I think we're on slaps and shirts. That's where we are. Okay, slaps and shirts. This is where we're going to look at if you smack them on one cheek, give them the other, right? If they smack you on one cheek, give them the other. If they take your coat, give them your tunic. Because I think this is really misunderstood, but it's also really, really easy. So once you understand the kingdom constitution, horizontal culture, honor culture, and all that stuff that we've just gone through. Also here, the picture that I kind of chose to put in front has to do with giving, right? In American modern vertical culture, we think of quote unquote giving as financial and individual. And that's not necessarily the entirety of the definition of giving. So keep that in mind as we continue today. So let's see if we can wrap this up pretty quickly today and keep moving on and get through Luke 6 finally. So our agenda is we're learning about our lessons for the third audience. We've already identified all those audiences. You don't know who audience 1, 2, and 3 are and how they're different, but also the same. Go back. I always tell you guys, go back. Kingdom Constitution. We're going to look at the turn the other cheek, what it means to give in this context, judge, condemn, release, and Pauline versus Davidic worldviews.
If you believe that about me, if you really believe that about me, wouldn't it be incumbent upon you to get up from your fucking lunch and fucking scream at me at the least? I actually think, I don't know how deep we're going to get into that one, the Paul versus David. You guys, I'm so tired of Paul. And, I'm so tired of Paul. Wouldn't it be incumbent upon you?
It's like there's so much more than Paul. But at the same time, Paul ruined literally everything.
Wouldn't it be incumbent upon you, as a decent human being, to confront me?
I was washed up and left for dead. I was down, took my feet and a solid red. And a crown, and the wrongs that I was afraid. I was down when the fights right through my head. But it's all
end times and, all that eschatology and the binary Jew versus Gentile.
But you know what? There's so much money to be made in that hatred, in those lies. The realization that, how do I combat that?
Like angels and demons, like there's so much that Paul Jenkified.
Made me realize, like, what do we fucking do? What do we do now, man? Because I can come here and I can talk to you and I can make it clear and I can say.
And it's just, it doesn't fucking end. It's like New Orleans. Like New Orleans, when you live there for years and years, you realize no matter how long you live there, you will never get to the bottom of New Orleans. There's always something else to discover. Good, bad, or ugly. Well, welcome to Paul. You just can't get to the bottom of Paul.
How does anybody combat that in this moment in time?
So we're going to go off on Paul for a little bit, which, I guess I get so sick of it. And then I think we're going to do a Pauline. We're going to go over to Paul's paganisms after this Luke 6.
Part of the record. You can go look at it in the record. Go look at and the actual documents. I'll show you the documents. I'll show you the two different things. We tried to get them introduced in court. And the judge said it was irrelevant.
How is it irrelevant?
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, I will show you so you can put it up on a thing. Two separate forms.
We'll put it up.
Yeah.
We're going to pause here for a second. We're going to do an installment in Paul's paganisms because we're getting up to the point where he meets the apostles. And I think we're going to read through that piece in Acts 9. I think we'll do that. And most of my Paul Davidic rant today will tie in to the Paul's paganism, Hellenistic view that we're going to sort of break down a little bit over in Paul's paganisms. But that's for next time. That's for next time.
Have the forms?
Yeah.
We'll put them up.
Yeah. I'll get my lawyers to send them to you.
We always look a little bit at the Greek, time, place, politics, setting, culture. And we'll be moving on through Paul's paganisms a little bit. Hopefully back to Luke 7 and 8. We've got to talk about Solomon and demonology and Samson and the bloodlines and what it's like when these false gods, other gods, get a hold of a bloodline, scroll-backed, Davidic kingdom Hebrew heir, and how they toy with them, slap them around, parade them around, because it's like a political prisoner. And so we're going to kind of see that in Samson, and then continue on through Luke 9 and 11, where we get very much into the Solomonic demonology part, which we would have already built background knowledge for whenever we decide to jump over to our Apotheosis series. So that's sort of how we're laying it out in the next few sessions. All right. No, I want to stay in the call, please. Stay in this call. Thank you very much. Okay. Gosh, we have to do Joel and Micah too. And I love Joel and Micah. I should have already done that. Thinking about the order back in Psalm 78, in the Caleb and the bloodlines, and we went off on all that. I probably should have done that there. But somewhere, I'm sure coming up, something will pop in. And I'll get all pissed and say, okay, let me go back to Micah and Joel and show you that. So we'll get there eventually. But that's hanging in my mind to throw those in. All right, here we go. We are in audience 3, who is really audience 1 plus a little bit. We've got our dodgeball teams lined up. We did our compare and contrast with our 2 dodgeball teams. And Jesus is speaking to those who are listening, who right now we know is just the apostles, or the soon-to-be apostles. They're currently disciples. There is a difference. And anyone in the crowd, he's basically saying, you got side A, side B, choose your side, right? That's what we're doing. And we did this, I say to those who are listening, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you. We did this last time. Bless those who curse you and pray for those who threaten you. Now, I did a whole video, guys. We're going to stop right here in line 27 of Luke 6, where it says, pray for those who threaten you. And boy, Christians love to pray for people, don't they? They're always out there praying for everybody. Here's the problem. Who are you praying to? You're praying to the Pauline God. You're praying to the Catholic Godhead of this Trinity entity. You're praying to the Logos.
Which is an interesting sort of piece of information to have.
For sure.
So I got fed up. I got extremely fed up. I went into breakdown. It took a long time to wear me down, but it happened in 2018, and it's very difficult for me to speak of, but let's just say I had a complete mental, emotional, and physical breakdown, and I was absolutely spiritually bankrupt. I had tried every possible Christian religion under the Christian umbrella and found them all lacking and not helpful. I looked at quantum shit. I looked at new age shit. I looked at drug shit to try to find the trail to these entities that were harassing me. Couldn't figure it out. And I would always pray, but unfortunately I was praying to the Trinitarian God that I was taught as a child through life.
Now I'm because you is just a nature. I'm not there. Oh yeah. What's my bad?
You're praying to, which we'll talk about next time. That's why we're going back to Paul's paganisms. We're going to dig into this Logos thing a little bit more. the capital L Logos. You're praying to an entity that is not Jesus, son of David, man of the Galilee, and his father. And so I did a whole dang video because of my experience being attacked since first memory, that please don't pray for me, right? I don't want you to pray for me. How dare you pray for anybody without their permission? How dare you baptize anybody without teaching them what frickin' God and what frickin' covenant you're putting them into? And you know why you don't? Because you can't. Because all you know is 10 little verses that your preachers tell you over and 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 over. And 98% of them are Saul of Tarsus. That's why. You don't know what God you worship. That's not informed consent. So you know what? Don't pray for me because I'm not interested in your janky ass God. Okay? I'm not interested. I have my covenant. My God's bigger than your God. I followed your God for more than 4 decades. You didn't do shit. Sort of like the Jesus Paul preached didn't do shit either, except leave him with an angel of Satan in his flesh and beat the shit out of the exorcists who prayed in the name of the Jesus Paul preached. Yeah, they got their asses beat. So I'm not interested in that God. I'll pray for myself. I'll ask people who I know are in the Davidic Covenant to pray for me because I know who they're praying to. And when we get into the difference between the Pauline view of everlasting life and resurrection versus the Davidic Hebrew view of death and resurrection and eternal life, it's going to make a lot of people pissed right off. So I'm trying to prepare you for when we get to that next time. Does that make sense? I don't even think Christians know who they're praying to. I think they think they're praying to one thing and they're praying to another thing because the church has fucked them off so bad with Paul. So, I did a whole video saying, don't pray for me. So it appears at first glance that these words pray for, that we would have a contradiction, right? I'm telling you, do not pray for me. Christians are running around praying for everybody. And right here, Jesus's words are saying, pray for those who threaten you. No, Jesus, no. Those guys that grab me in the astral and beat the shit out of me, and the poltergeist activity, and the people who are responsible for that curse on my bloodline. I'm not praying for those people. Okay, I'm not doing it, Jesus.
Huh? I mean, I know you're working through some shit, the worst kind of shit, I know, but if you aren't the most stubborn know-it-all prick I've ever crossed dicks with.
I'm interested in the God of the house of David, and that's not yours. That's not nice. You have to forgive. You're not following Jesus. Well, we're going to talk about that. Okay. It doesn't say pray for. That's not what it says. That word for, those darn articles and conjunctions and adverbs and adjectives that we know the translators love to mess with. So we'll briefly hit that. Anyways, to the one who strikes you, or it's the one who strikes you on the cheek, offer the other also. From the one who takes your coat, do not withhold even your shirt. To all those who ask of you, give, and for the one who takes away what belongs to you, don't demand it back. As you wish that others do to you, do so to them. If you love those who love you, what credit is it to you? Even sinners love those who love them. And if you do good to those who love you, what credit is it to you? Even sinners do the same. If you lend to those whom you hope to receive, what credit is that to you? Even sinners lend to sinners, that they may receive in return. But love your enemies, do good, and lend, expecting nothing in return. Then your reward will be great. And you will be the sons of the Most High, for he is kind to the ungrateful and evil. Now, we read through this the last time, so I just went real quick. Everything in yellow today, these are the phrases that we're going to drill down on, because these are kind of the ones where people are like, huh? I don't get it. And we understand that 31 through about 33, right, is like, don't give in order to receive back. And this is usury, exorbitant interest. This is, if I do this for them, I'll get it back later, and in my family, we say, it always comes out in the wash, right? My kid needs to get their car fixed. I'm going to hand it to them knowing that it's going to come back around. And sometime when I don't have something to get my car fixed, my mom or my kids will jump in and go, oh, hey, let me give you $100 and, help you out. And that's just how it goes. We're like that in college, right? College kids, I'll buy today, you buy next time, whatever. That's not really what he's talking about. Okay. That's inter-community, because we take care of each other. This is more like, manipulative giving, where if I give to this person, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. That's sort of what he's talking about. You're doing things not for the sake of being good and helping your community. You're doing things to earn points. Okay. My dad's really funny. My dad's like 80 and his wife is so cute, my stepmom. And they're adorable. And they live out in the middle of the mountains, right? In this really tiny little small town. And they're so funny. And her favorite color is orange. So my dad will come home and bring my stepmom these orange flowers, right? And every time he comes shuffling in the house with his little orange flowers, she's like, oh, for heaven's sakes, why'd you pack me these for? He's like, I got credit. And he always says that. He goes, I got credit. And she just rolls her eyes and she's, it's so cute. But my dad says that all the time. I got credit. I got credit. And he's sort of making a joke of this, right? Like how you give and someone got to give you something back. Okay. Like, give me a kiss. I got credit, right? That kind of thing. That's more what Jesus is talking about. Doing something so that you get something in return. Think of, dating. I took you to dinner, so now you have to put out, right? That's what we're talking about here. That sort of stuff. Financially, in farming, in agriculture, in life, in everything, in favors. All right. So I think that's pretty obvious from 31 to 34 that that's what he's saying. All right. All right, let's keep going and see if we can break down some of these yellows. And I think we're starting with the pray for one. So when you dig down to the Greek phrasing here with pray for someone, please don't pray for me. The word means in regard to. Okay? Pray in regard to. Pray about. Pray concerning. It doesn't mean for someone's benefit. That's a whole different word. Okay? It also does not mean pray on behalf of someone, which means to intercede on their behalf. That's a whole nother word also. Okay? So what we need to take a look at here is about or in regard to. And we're going to go back and read it. Okay? It says, pray in regard to those who threaten you. Ah, it was just jurisdictional override, frickin' done. Like these guys are on a mission and they activate and it's handled like the Taken guy. Like, I'm going to get you and I'm going to get my people back. Like, that's what it is. Pray about those who threaten you. Pray concerning those who threaten you. So basically, you're taking the situation to God. Does that make sense? The literal sense is pray concerning the ones mistreating you. Pray about those who are abusing you. It's not pray for them to be blessed, saved, healed, prospered. The English word for is a problem, and it's an interpretive choice. It is not a translation. And I'm so tired of these interpretive choices.
Speak when you're spoken to! You answer to me. You provide for me.
Provide for you.
You belong to me. Right. Right.
Just translate what it says before we can figure out what it means. But of course, if you're following a false god, who I claim is the Pauline God, of course you want everybody praying for each other, invoking the name of a false god. And what they don't have tolerance for is attacks on their people, and they don't have tolerance for worshiping false gods.
That is the look I wanted to see. We did it. All of us. Together. Even the dead guys on the ground. Hell, they get the Spirit Award for sure. Today was a productive damn day.
Pray about the situation. Pray about them. I don't know what to do about this. My daughter, the one who came back from New Orleans, a few years ago, she got really pissed off at me, which, I understand. I'm an asshole, right? Like, it's not easy to be my child, okay? And so she got all pissed off at me, and she canceled me. She literally says, I'm canceling you. And I'm like, well, fuck you, then I'll cancel you back. Like, you can't cancel me. You're my firstborn child. There's no such thing as canceling me. That's not going to happen. But I said, okay, fine. You want to cancel me? I'll cancel you back. So I didn't pray for her, okay? I prayed about the situation. Does that make sense? It's a whole different thing. Now, because she's my daughter, as a family member, I also have the right and rule within the family structure as head of household to step in and intercede in front of the throne of the King of David to intercede on behalf of my household. I can absolutely do that. If someone comes to me and specifically asks me to go into the throne room of Zion and pray on behalf of them, I can do that. But I don't just haul off and do that, okay? Unless I'm interceding for my family, which I have right to as head of household. Different thing, right? I'm not running around just praying for everybody out in the world, okay? I pray about it. I don't pray for them because, I think that my covenant with the house of David is the best covenant to be in. I really do. Right? That's my covenant. I'm not leaving it. I have, the supernatural experience that backs me on that. I have that evidence. But I'm not going to assume that that's what's right for you, right? You have free will and choice. So I'm not going to start praying to my God on behalf of people who didn't ask me to. I think that's really, really arrogant. And Jesus doesn't actually tell you to do that either. So what he's saying in context, you can think of Luke 6, this whole part that we've been breaking down for the past few sessions. It's sort of a survival manual for disciples who are about to step in the world that's going to immediately put them under oppression. Okay? This is persecution. This is a community. This is the third category, right? If you go back to, oh gosh, I get so lost, you guys. If you go back to Paul's paganism series, one of the latest ones that we did, I think we talked about, I think it might be in the Persia video when we talked about Persia, and we talked about how Paul collapsed a third category. Remember that there's that binary, and Paul went ahead and collapsed that third category that Jesus and James were teaching. Well, if you go back to thinking of this third category, right, there's Jew and there's Gentile, and they're opening a third category of the kingdom of David, which welcomes all, and it doesn't stick to that binary. We haven't seen Jesus one time that teaching to that binary at all. As a matter of fact, we see him doing exactly the opposite in several places. Luke 4 is one of them that stands out, and right here in Luke 6 is another one. But if you think of him walking through and sort of like parting the Red Sea of this binary, okay, and saying, if you want to join us in this middle ground, come out of Babylon, my people, on both sides, right? He's definitely going to have persecution and oppression from both of those legal categories from Persia that Rome has now adopted, because he's not fitting into a category. And that's seditious, right? That's seditious if you're going against the religious and legal categories set up, because no separation of church and state. So if you think of this as a survival manual for people that he's speaking to that are joining him on the third path, the road less taken, if you will, that's what we're doing. This isn't a sentimental love everyone Hallmark card sentiment. This is how we're taking care of each other. This is how we're behaving and modeling for the outside world in those other two categories. And this third category, okay, this third category is where we have to dig, guys, now. We have to do it now. We have to do it now. We're going to dig into the resurrection, which leads us to end times, which it's a mess, guys. It's a mess. And the reason we have to do this now is because if we don't do this now, what we're going to see upcoming in Luke 7 is not going to make that much sense. And it has to do with different kingdoms and the different kingdom views on life and death itself.
You've never scared of being too close
There's
to
plenty
death?
to be scared of dying. I mean, I've seen it come and go. I've left the building. I've left the house.
So we're not going to hit that today, but we're definitely gearing up to get there the next time, which is why I'm putting this woo-woo stuff in here, because remember, I was threatened with soul death, extinction since first memory. It's about processing harm. It's not about blessing the abuser. It's about processing harm, not blessing the abuser. Jesus tells you to pray about things, not pray for people. Pray about the people. Big difference, guys. Big difference. So here I am, right, getting attacked by invisible entities that I can't see since first memory. I'm going through all that. All the things, right? The sleep paralysis, the astral, the recruiting, the crazy guys in the robes, the constant beat downs by these entities, the poltergeist activity with shit flying off the walls and growling walls and all this other stuff's going on. And you know, I have so much trouble articulating this because my experience with Team David, we call it, is a lot different than most people's little supernatural experience that they have. You know, when you learn David coming out of, you know, decades of trauma from the demonic entity realm, it's not so frightening, right? Like, you know, what's going to happen? Like demons are going to keep come and eat my face off if I question the church doctrine. Sorry, too bad, so sad. Demons already tried to eat my face off. So like, I'm not scared, right? So when I run into David, it's comforting for me, not scary, but I could see like normal people that don't have that decades long supernatural astral demonic poltergeist trauma might see David a little bit differently. And I've got Christians out there praying for me to Paul's God. That didn't help, right? Made it worse. Made it worse. So be very careful. Pray about things, not for. Pray about people. Don't pray for people. All right, let's get to the slap. If someone smacks you on one cheek, turn the other one. Okay. There's an honor-shame mechanics going on here of the ancient Mediterranean that we have to understand. And this becomes apparent when you start to read Jesus like someone who's actually lived inside a real-life status-based culture.
Great.
Okay, because that's what this was. We're going back to the ancient Near East, and we can still see this in the Middle East. In that context, that horizontal first century context, a slap wasn't violence. I can even go back in the day when I was a kid, right? And girls would smack a dude across the face because they would say something inappropriate.
Don't care. Really? You people seriously don't have a sense of humor.
You saw this in your old black and white movies, right? Where your Hollywood diva, the dude would say something or suggest something or look the wrong way or look at some other woman or whatever the hell it was. And the woman would go, damn, and like smack him.
Excuse me. What's your name again?
Olivia.
I am sorry for having been so rude to you just now. And it looks like I want to be here for a while, awaiting your fearless leader's return. And if you'd like, I think it would be enjoyable to screw your brains out.
Okay. Today, it's much more associated with violence, like don't hit ever. Okay. But back in the day, and in other cultures, slaps aren't brawling violence. Okay. It was a status move.
I mean, if, you're agreeable to it.
Think of the old Hollywood movies. Bam, I'm putting you in your place. I'm putting you in your place because you've crossed a boundary. So a slap was a status move, not a street fight, okay? Especially a backhand slap. And what a backhand slap meant was you are beneath me, you're socially inferior, I'm asserting dominance to reframe this situation as me in control, and I'm bringing you into my hierarchy. I'm putting you in your place the way I determine it to be, according to my hierarchy. So this was a social thing, not a violent thing. Now, if you take your hand, right, and most people are smacking with their right hand, okay? We'll get to that in a minute. But I want you to imagine if you're smacking you're backhanding someone with your right hand, you can't turn and like smack them again with the other side of your hand. Okay. But this is the equivalent of a cop talking down to you, a boss humiliating an employee in front of everyone, a Saudi dad complaining loudly in front of everyone, a Gretna police officer deciding who gets arrested, a Riyadh staff deciding which elevator everyone belongs in. This is jurisdictional humiliation. It's not assault. Okay? So turn the other cheek means you don't get to define my status. You're going to slap me back into place, but I'm not going back in place.
I mean, if, you're agreeable to it. I am about 50% more into you now. Just saying.
I'm going to give you my other one and stand right up to you again. If someone backhands you on the right cheek, turn your left cheek. Why? Because a backhand can only hit the right cheek. They're going to have to switch hands and do it with their left. So if you turn the left cheek, you're silently saying, I'm refusing the category that you assigned me.
All right, well, I'm just gonna put my feet up and wait for my stuff to get here. Olivia, would you be a lamb and make us a little lemonade? Now, I know I left y'all some of that good powdered stuff.
Well, I'm not supposed to be with you.
Make it. Make it. Take your time. Make it good.
But it's just saying, I'm not sheepishly walking away and accepting the position you put me in. I'm going to stand right back up to you and give you the other cheek and say, yep, screw you. I'm not going down to the level you've tried to replace me in. I'm refusing the category you just assigned me. I'm refusing the humiliation you're trying to bring upon me. It's not submission. And that's the whole point. Shake it off and go, No. You don't redefine who I am. So this stuff that Jesus is talking about in Luke 6, it's not pacifism. It's non-mirroring defiance. What do I mean by non-mirroring? I'm not going back to your categories, your kingdom, and your hierarchy. I'm standing grounded in mine. I'm not going to mirror your bad behavior, but I'm going to be defiant in that I'm not accepting your category. I'm not accepting your kingdom. I'm not accepting your hierarchy. I'm not going to be an asshole like you, but in retaliate. Does that make sense? I'm going to be defiant. I do not comply. That's what this is. I do not consent. I do not consent to your slap and your hierarchy and your social structure and your humiliating move. I don't consent. So he's teaching, don't retaliate. Don't escalate the situation. Don't mirror their aggression. Don't drop to their level. Don't get dragged into their kingdom. Don't let their behavior rewrite your identity. You stay in your lane. You stay in your code. You stay in your covenant. They don't get to pull you back into their jurisdiction. This is why Christians, Pauline Christians come around all the time, and they want to argue with me. And I just tell them, I'm not in your kingdom. And that freaks them out because they have no idea what I'm saying. Okay, they have no idea what I'm saying. It's like, your rules over in Paul land, that's not my covenant. So I don't care. Same thing with the rabbis. That's not my covenant. Sorry. It doesn't apply to me. It just doesn't apply. You don't get to pull me into your kingdom and try to teach me what the rules are. That's not going to happen. This is Davidic ethics. This is not temple ethics. David's whole life was refusing to retaliate, refusing to mirror Saul, refusing to escalate. He would not abandon his covenant behavior. David was an asshole. Okay? But he was not going to abandon his covenant behavior. He always refused to let someone else's madness define him. Jesus is teaching the same thing. Why? Well, because he's the son of David. He's teaching the same thing. Later on, James is also teaching the same thing. These are Davidic heirs, not temple guys. This is the Davidic operating system, not the Solomonic one. Okay? It's not temple ethics. This is not priesthood religion of the time. It's not Pharisee logic. It's not that Persian takeover religion. This is the same logic that's going on in Luke 6:35. It's about reliability, covenant reliability. Okay, we're going to remember 3 Greek words here going on in 6:35. Let's go back and read this, and we're going to try to remember the Greek. We've got kind, ungrateful, and evil is the way that these are being defined. Okay, so let's go over and share this tab instead. Okay. But love your enemies and do good and lend, expecting nothing in return. Then your reward shall be great, and you will be sons of the Most High. For he is, here's our part, focus in here. You will be sons of the Most High. For he is kind to the ungrateful and the evil. This is the next part we're going to tear apart. Okay? Love your enemies, do good, and lend, expecting nothing in return. Your reward will be great, and you will be sons of the Most High. You will be in the kingdom. For he is kind to the ungrateful and the evil. Oh, boy, do I have things to say about this. When I read this sentence personally, what I start to think about is the moment, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, when I was in that astral experience, right? And when Team David, right, the extraction crew on Team David, one of the low-level ground crew guys, swooped in. And as soon as they locked on my energy field, right, the entire astral kingdom collapsed. We talk about this in the book. We talk about this in the ritual series. It's ritual. Go there if you haven't heard this. And then everything collapsed into outer darkness, and I was falling through outer darkness, and they scooped me up. I think of that situation right here. He is kind to the ungrateful and the evil. At the time that they grabbed me and saved me from that, I was not in the Davidic Covenant. I need people to hear this.
Huh? I mean, I know you're working through some shit, the worst kind of shit, I know, but if you aren't the most stubborn know-it-all prick I've ever crossed dicks with.
Okay? When I was scooped out from that particular attack, I was not in the Davidic Covenant. Yet Team David came to retrieve me because I called on King Jesus. I used that name. Okay? Therefore, when I was back in my body, right, later that day, that week, that month, that year, I still hadn't put all the pieces together. We went through this in Apotheosis, and how the place I was in, the people pretended they were representing Team David in a lot of different ways, in a lot of different experiences. So I didn't know who was who sometimes. So in the weeks, months, and years after I was pulled from the astral by Team David, I still wasn't in the Davidic Covenant. Think about that.
To be safe, so far as I'm concerned, God is on probation. You know, I'm not too sure about it, but at the same time, I acknowledge his existence. You know, but sometime him and me are going to have a good talk, you know, and I look forward to that. You know.
I was still in the Pauline covenant. Make sense? I didn't know. I hadn't learned it yet. I hadn't figured anything out yet. So since after they pulled me out, Team David pulls me out of the astral attack land, everything goes out of darkness, right? Everything collapses. Poof, I'm in outer darkness. Team David grabs me out.
But it didn't happen, so I came back in, you know. But what I find is that you leave. If you're really scared, you ain't even there.
Puts me back. Everything's calm. I still had poltergeist activity. I still had sleep paralysis and astral attacks. Although the astral attacks were less, it's almost like that was a warning shot fired across the bow. Like, we better be really careful when we take this one, right? Like, the Team David's on the scene. But I still hadn't joined the covenant. I hadn't joined the kingdom yet. So the legal door was still open. I was still praying to the Pauline God. I hadn't figured it out yet. So I was still in the Roman Pauline contract, the Protestant contract. So that legal door is still open. So I'm still having poltergeist activity. Does that make sense? Calling on in Team David coming in and rescuing me from outer darkness in one attack is not a you're in the kingdom thing. This is why I'll read, you called Lord, Lord, and I never knew you. The demons that attacked me, they were after killing and extinguishing the soul itself.
But I mean, it might not. I mean, maybe if you do die, maybe then it just goes. I don't know.
You see that now? You called me Lord, Lord, but I never knew you. Just because I grab your ass out of a bad situation doesn't mean you're in the kingdom. This is another reason I know Paul's lying.
Maybe that's when I mastered him, and now he does as he's told. You know, maybe that was up until that point he was running the show, and I was doing what I was told. You know, but that's when I mastered him. You know? Gotcha, and then he's going to stay there.
Because we'll get there, but in Acts, when the exorcists are calling on the Jesus Paul preached, well, they got the shit beat out of them by the demons. That Jesus didn't even show up because it's the wrong guy. Does that make sense? Team David did not have to come and help me that day. Okay?
We got it, you don't. We got the bright lights, the cool cars, the awesome weapons. We got bombs. You see, power equals power. It's as simple as that. So if you ain't with us, I guess you're in for a bit of a shock. So why don't y'all talk amongst yourselves? Think about it. And do me a favor, huh? Don't think too hard.
But you'll be sons of the Most High. Expect nothing in return. Do good. For he is kind to the ungrateful and the evil. We're going to talk about what those words mean. This is how the kingdom operates. They are good Samaritans, okay? They're boss. Don't get me wrong. They are boss. Good Samaritans. But they're good Samaritans. However, that doesn't mean you're in the kingdom. Am I making sense? So this line hits me at a very personal level. He is kind to the ungrateful and the evil. Now, let's take a look at what those words really mean, because it's a little different than ungrateful and evil. Okay? In the Greek, when I read this, I don't think that I was definitely ungrateful, but I don't know about evil. I wouldn't have called myself evil at the time, right? I was a mess, right? I was a mess for my whole life. I was a mess, but I wasn't evil, okay? The things attached to me, infesting my life were evil. I wasn't ever evil. I was a mess. But in the Greek, it makes more sense. Okay. Kind, be kind. You know, God is kind to the ungrateful and the evil. Well, kind means covenant style benevolence. Good Samaritans, good citizens, horizontal culture that we talked about, the Saudi guy, the Maybach delivering the pizza, benevolence within his role. That's what we're saying. Covenant style benevolence, giving within horizontal culture without asking things in return. Okay. The ungrateful, kind to the ungrateful, people who don't reciprocate, people who can't reciprocate. Sometimes people that don't even know what the hell's going on, right? God is kind to people who don't reciprocate. That's what the Greek means. And evil in Western horror movie culture, right? We think of evil as like, Michael Myers getting up after he fell from the balcony after a 6 shot, right? Evil, right? Horror movie things. But this word is also people who are socially destabilizing, right? The village idiot, crooks, manipulators, drama stirrers, okay? People in your family or your friend group are those drama stirrers, those enemies we talked about last time, okay? These are people just destabilizing the social order, okay? God reigns on everyone. Does that make sense? God provides for everyone. The sun comes up, it rises and sets for everyone, regardless of their status. So I want you to think of it that way. You will be sons of the Most High because God shows covenant style benevolence even to those who don't reciprocate and people who are socially destabilizing. That's that line in Greek. That's the connotations that we're giving. It's a lot deeper than just evil. And I want you guys to sit with that because that's what Jesus is teaching. No matter what, you can be an asshole and still a good person. Does that make sense? You're still good people at the end of the day. You do things for those who don't reciprocate and who are destabilizing. Because this is how the kingdom operates. This is the rules of the road. This is the kingdom constitution. This is how we roll in the covenant of David. In David's kingdom that Jesus is king of, this is how it works. Whether in the heavens or on earth, you're held to that standard. Does that make sense?
This is my fault. It is. I'm going to take all the blame for it, but I think we're having a little bit of a misunderstanding. I am not asking for any kumbaya. You see, I am not a preacher. And you sure as shit ain't no congregation. But you are going to fight, and not for the common good. I could give a rat's ass about the common good. No, you are going to fight. You're going to fight because I say so. Get that fucking thing out of my face. Nah. Get that fucking thing out of my face.
We got to stop being know-it-alls about the Bible. We really do. God is keeping his side of the covenant even when the other party is a total mess. This is not being nice. It's about being anchored. It's about being able to see and do the right thing even when everyone around you is falling apart. So turn the other cheek. You don't get to define me. You don't get to drag me into your chaos. You don't get to rewrite my covenant identity. I'm not mirroring your behavior. I'm not playing your dominance game. I'm going to stay in my lane. I'm going to stay in my covenant, and I'm going to stay in my dignity. This isn't being submissive. It's jurisdictional defiance. I do not consent. It's a whole different meaning than what people are understanding outside of covenant and outside of the kingdom framework. Why is this moving, you guys? James teaches the same thing. James comes up with these lines, and this is my James. I use the same quotes from James every time.
Hey, what was the lottery number last night? You guys play lottery? No? My wife buys me 2 tickets every week. The last 10 years, plays the same 2 numbers all the time. I say, hey, why don't you play a different number? She goes, well, those are my lucky numbers. I got the tickets right here.
I play the same numbers from James every week, right? Every good thing comes from God. He's not talking about feelings or vague blessings. He's literally drawing a jurisdictional line. If it's good, it's from God. If it's retaliation, chaos, destruction, that's from outside the kingdom. Okay? That's from outside of our kingdom. Our kingdom doesn't roll that way. He's teaching people how to diagnose the source of behavior so they know exactly what it means when someone is operating from a different kingdom. Different kingdom, different system. Make sense? Makes sense. Jesus never said, blessed are the nice. This is why Jesus says God is kind to the ungrateful and the wicked. Not because he's sentimental. Not because he approves of wickedness. God just doesn't mirror them. Doesn't descend. Doesn't get pulled into their chaos. God stays in his lane. That's the model. You do the same as God. Not for their sake, but for yours. Don't step out of the kingdom. If you retaliate, you've left the kingdom. That's not how we work. You've abandoned covenant identity, and you've stepped into the wrong jurisdiction. You let their behavior rewrite yours. Does this make sense now? This is why James and Jesus are perfectly aligned. They're Davidic heirs with the same ethic and the same jurisdiction, same covenant identity. They're talking about kingdom behavior, generosity, stability, loyalty, anchored identity, rather than non-kingdom behavior, which includes escalating a situation, dominance games, humiliation, chaos, retaliation. James makes a lot of points that are exactly on target with this teaching. If it's good, it's from God. If it's not, it's not. Stay in your kingdom. Don't let theirs rewrite you. This is the entire core operating system of the entire Davidic kingdom worldview. This is the thing that James, Jesus, and the whole Davidic line are teaching. But almost nobody raised in a Western theological frame ever sees this. God reigns on everyone. Yeah, he keeps his side of the covenant. It's not universal salvation, membership, niceness. He just keeps running creation because that's what he does. He keeps breath in the lungs, the rain falling. That's God's lane. He doesn't abandon his identity of being God because someone else is a complete disaster. This is a part that Western Christians panic over, but the ancient world understood perfectly. Free will means you can choose a different kingdom. You don't have to be in this one. You can choose a different ethic, a different jurisdiction, choose chaos, drama, retaliation. God's not going to step in and override that, because if he did, there would be no kingdom distinction at all. Just be nice. Just say Jesus. That's what you'd have. That's what you have. If the bazillion Christians were right, America wouldn't look like such a shithole. Just saying. Just because God reigns on them, just because Team David comes and scoops you out of outer darkness, doesn't mean you're in his kingdom. Provision does not equal approval. Sustaining does not equal endorsing. Breath does not equal belonging. God's generosity is not a membership badge. God's generosity is his refusal to break his own nature. He doesn't stop being God just because someone else stops acting human. He doesn't stop being God because dipshits run out. Ephraim, talking to you, of their covenant. And this idea is at the heart of turn the cheek, love your enemies, bless those who curse you, pray about those who hate you, and do good. Because God's kingdom is the Davidic kingdom. And those guys are complete badasses. They do not consent to the other systems of the world. They're forging that third path. And their kingdom runs on generosity, stability, loyalty, restraint, non-marrying, anchored identity of who they are. And that's all they need. I say all the time, when you confront Team David in the woo-woo or anywhere else, it is. They don't need all the other shit. They don't need to prove themselves. They don't need to play games with all these rules and hoops to jump through. It is. And you're either in the kingdom or you're not. You're in covenant or you're not. Very simple. Very simple. Jesus wasn't nice. Elijah wasn't nice. David was absolutely not nice. Because niceness is not a kingdom category. Integrity is. Western Christianity, Pauline, has replaced covenant ethics of integrity with niceness. They judge people by their tone, how polite they are, how soft they are, how agreeable they are, how emotionally smooth they are. All right. I'm going to tell you this. Okay. Niceness, integrity is non-negotiable. Niceness is a sliding scale. Okay. That's how I want you to think of this. Integrity, being benevolent, standing in integrity, that's non-negotiable. Niceness, well, that's a sliding scale. And I would like every Christian in the world who loves to judge me, okay, with my attitude. Oh, you're smoking. You have an attitude. You're swearing. You're not nice. All those people who are going to hear any of this, since you can't be dealing with God. Okay. You want to judge my niceness? Let's do this. I want you to commit the next 48 years of your life to being attacked in your every night. Okay? You never know when it's coming. A couple times a week. Maybe it won't show up for a few months. Then it'll come back and blast you. And you're going to be dragged out of your body and get the ever-living shit beat out of you. Okay? And you get poltergeist activity with things flying across the walls in your houses. And I want you to go through that for 40 years and see how that impacts your life, your exhaustion, your choices. Come out the other end of it and beat it. Win that war. And tell me how nice you're going to be at the end of it. tell me that you're not going to swear a little bit. Excuse me. Did you have demonic shit beating the hell out of you for 48 years? Okay, then maybe you don't swear. Good for you. Have a fucking cookie, okay? I literally had a bloodline curse that I couldn't get rid of. Team David doesn't give a shit if I say, fuck that. Okay, they're like, okay, well, yeah, she's been through it. She's been through some shit, okay? I get it. But she has integrity. She's loyal to her covenant. She's not breaking what she's doing is breaking all the Pauline rules. And by the way, good for her. And finally, she figured it out. Rebel. I do not consent to the Pauline rules. Okay. Fuck off. There you go. I do not consent. That has nothing to do with my integrity working within my kingdom covenant. People don't understand that. That's one of the reasons why I refuse. I talk to you as though we're sitting down together at a dive bar playing pool. And we're going through this with that tone. Why? Because that's who I am. That's who I grew up to be, and I'm not changing, okay? This whole idea of the Holy Spirit comes into you and completely gives you a personality makeover. That's not how it works, guys. That's how the Logos entity works. They put you in this hypnotic state of, That's not how it works. Okay, that's the Trinitarian work. That's how that goes. You know, we're gonna love bomb you as we usher you into outer darkness. You must kneel in the mighty name of Jesus Christ, because you are free. To those that make that choice, we love you, bless you, and set you free. To the rest of them, the fucking pit, because we are free. We are free. Thank you, Father God. Dark energies are gone. Scattering like cockroaches. He's just showing me a visual of cockroaches just running. Getting rooted out. Their little legs going, ah! The demons are fucking screaming, dude. Choking on the blood. Choking on the blood in the mighty name of Jesus Christ. I'm not interested in being love bombed while I'm driving down the road to outer darkness. That doesn't interest me. Oh, but the Holy Spirit came into me. What? Okay, that's great. That's great. That's great. That's great. Are you sure you're attributing things to God that are God? Just saying. Or are you being love bombed with evidence? And maybe for you, that's your evidence and that's where you want to stay. That's okay. That's your opinion. My experience is well different. Okay. My experience is well different. I did not get a personality makeover. What I got was protection, a chance to show the integrity and grow in that, a chance to learn, a chance to step deeper and more understanding and have more wisdom on how to walk in my covenant and to change some behaviors and clip some things here and there. But I'm not going down a list that the priest or the preacher handed or the Jews handed out to me. That's not how it is.
So, you join us. You put aside your differences, and we fight. We keep New Babylon.
Ah, my Lord. Kumbaya.
And you are?
Christos.
Christos. That's a very cool name. Here's the deal, Christos. I'm wondering if we could save the Q&A until, I don't know, afterwards.
If we don't want to join you.
I'm following God's law, not religious law. And getting better and better and better as I go. And I'm going to tell you, they're not worried about me not being nice. Okay? When I walk into someone's house and I'm clearing their space and battling growlers, they're not worried about my language. Does that make sense? Western Christianity replaced ethics with niceness. The biblical world, the Davidic kingdom, judges people by loyalty, truthfulness, courage, integrity. Jesus never said, "Blessed are the nice." Blessed are the pure in heart, the merciful, the peacemakers, those who hunger for justice. These are integrity categories, guys, not niceness. Jesus wasn't nice. He was consistent. He called the leaders snakes, mocked their logic, overturned tables, humiliated hypocrites, exposed corruption, and refused to flatter anyone. He didn't consent. He refused to be manipulated. He refused to be intimidated. But not once did he escalate, lie, manipulate, broke his covenant, or abandon his identity. So two different things. Elijah wasn't nice. He's covenant loyal. He mocked Baal's prophets, confronted kings, called down fire, refused to compromise, never broke covenant, never switched jurisdictions. David absolutely wasn't nice. He was anchored in his covenant. He refused to kill Saul, wouldn't retaliate, escalate. He wouldn't mirror the madness and the chaos around him. He refused to abandon his ethics, even when Saul was trying to kill him. David's ethic was, "I will not become you, even if you're trying to destroy me. I will not become part of you." That's guys, that right there, this Davidic ethic, I will not become you, even if you're trying to destroy me. That's why I get so pissed off, guys. There was that lady that came on my channel for a minute, and then she got all offended, remember? And then she started yelling at me and calling me all kinds of names. As here we go again. And then she came on my channel and started calling me all kinds of names because she got offended by something, probably that she didn't understand. I did a fan mail whole thing on her, like for an hour. I fucking ranted on her.
What the hell can I do for you? In the door like a big boy.
That's why I get so offended and so angry when people who don't understand and don't have context come onto my channel and say things like, "You're working for Blavatsky. You're one of them. You're in the Luciferian camp. They're waiting for Lucifer, and so are you. And you're part of this Crowley Blavatsky crew." I get extraordinarily offended by that. Because the one thing I didn't do was become one of them.
Start. Dog. Well, hello there.
And it feels so sweet. 'Cause the world is but a treat.
Oh my goodness.
Okay? That's the thing I didn't do. What I did do was put up with their freaking nonsense and attacks on me personally for decades, and then went into their system, dismantled it from the inside, knowing nothing, and came back out holding my covenant. That's what I did.
Yes.
Breaking out the good champagne. Sitting pretty on the gravy.
You're I'll just get my axe. No exception. Today was a productive damn day.
Okay? I went into their system with no background knowledge, dismantled it from the inside, right? With people, with my nanny helping me, logging the things, taking the notes, researching, all that. We did all that work from the inside while being attacked. I would come back out and take notes, right? Like, what the hell's going on here? We dismantled their attack, witchcraft, curse system while being tortured by it. Came back out holding my fucking covenant.
Oh, to a life that can't be right here on Easy Street.
What you take? Who are you? Oh, you better be joking. Easy peasy lemon squeeze. Use the shit out of my goddamn French, but you just threaten me.
For the Davidic kingdom. And you dare tell me I'm working on Blavatsky's side, dude? Stop it. That's why I get so angry. I will not become you, even when you're trying to destroy me and recruit me. I still didn't do it. That's why that one hit me so hard, is the Davidic ethic right there. Right there. Right there.
It's not a moment in the sun, and it's only just begun. It's time to have a little fun, and we're inviting you to come.
Do not let me distract you.
I'm not giving up my covenant. This isn't softness. It's anchored defiance of knowing exactly who you are, understanding exactly who you serve, appreciating exactly which team you're on and who you are in that covenant. I know what God I serve. I'm very clear. That anchored defiance comes from that under deep understanding. James is saying the exact same thing in his language. Every good thing comes from God. Integrity comes from within the kingdom, not without. The anger of man does not produce God's justice. Well, retaliation comes from the other kingdom. Be doers of the word. Integrity of action, not niceness of tone. Show no favoritism. Don't play social games. Where would I be if the Davidic extraction team didn't swoop in and drag me out of outer darkness? Where would I be if they played games of judgment and language? When I joined the Davidic Covenant, I literally was swearing all the way into the covenant.
You're on Easy Street. Yeah, we got a front row seat.
I ain't gonna lie, you scared the shit out of me. Let him sit down.
Think about that. I was swearing my way into the covenant. I was so pissed after 48 years of this. I went to God and said, damn it. This shit better fucking stop now. Like, that's literally what I said to God. Okay. I'm done with this shit. I'm done with this shit. It's going to fix or it's not. And whoever the hell that guy was, that team, the Davidic team, that team, whoever that guy was who kicked those entities off of me in outer darkness when that whole thing collapsed, I want that guy's God. And this shit better stop.
Holy hell. If shit could shit, it still wouldn't look as shitty as you. Get in.
Literally, that was my baptism, guys. Please don't come and tell me that I have to be nice in God's courtroom.
Easy Street, 'cause the world is but a treat when you're on Easy Street.
I stormed into that courtroom. I kicked down the frickin' door.
I don't know if any of you have checked tonight's forecast. Be just a rainstorm. Hell, it won't be a thunderstorm.
And I said, I'm here. And I want my fucking covenant. And I want it now.
It'll be a goddamn hurricane.
That's what I said. They don't play games. Let your yes be your yes and be consistent. Western Christian ethic is nice, soft, agreeable, tone police, emotional smoothness.
Hey, neighbor. Why don't you come by later?
James was the anti-nice apostle. And yes, I know he wasn't one of the 12 apostles. He's Jesus's brother. He's not an apostle. Okay, well, eventually when we define what an apostle is, let's just quickly do it now. Let's just do it. Disciple is a student, right? Well, an apostle, the legal term, the legal definition of an apostle basically means a messenger who, in the old days, I want you to think of like these guys that carried messages on their horses, right? Like from or to the king. And they're carrying messages. And the king would send out a decree of some sort. And he'd seal the message with like those little wax seals, roll it up into a scroll and seal it. And the guy on the horse was not allowed to open the seal, break the seal, read the message, change the message. This is where the whole phrase, don't kill the messenger, comes from, right? Because all I'm doing, don't kill the messenger. All I'm doing is delivering the mail. I'm not commenting on the message. I'm not opening the message. I'm not changing it. I'm not editing it. I'm not translating it. After you read the message, I'm not standing here to explain to you what it said. I'm just handing it over, sealed, exactly the way it was given to me. I am giving it to you. Okay? That was the definition of an apostle. They weren't supposed to change and develop their own ideas. They're supposed to deliver it like a legal courier. So disciple is student, apostle is legal courier of the message from the king. So for Paul to call himself an apostle, he's saying, I am a legal courier of a message from the king. Oh, did he do that or did he give his opinions? He gave his opinions. He gave his interpretation. That's what he did. See the difference? So when I call James an apostle, I'm not meaning James is one of the 12. I know James is Jesus' brother and the leader of the church. I get that. Okay. What I'm using the word here is because he's delivering that message from the king, which is a Roman era legal definition of apostle. That's what I'm saying. So he was the anti-niceness apostle. He was not nice. Okay. He's the integrity apostle. His ethic was integrity, loyalty, identity, courage, and truth. James had tremendous restraint. Jesus, I don't mirror your kingdom. James, good comes from God. Retaliation doesn't. So the insight for you, it's not about kindness. It's about action, staying in the kingdom when someone else is operating from theirs. All right. Outer garment versus inner garment. Public honor versus private self. That's what this is. Your outer garment, your coat, your robe, that's your public honor, your public identity. I think we talked about this a little bit in Psalms where David cut the coat, right? He's cutting your flag, your identity, your symbol of who you are. That's your outer garment. But your inner garment is your private self, your inner integrity, okay, who you are. So the ancient Near East, your social presence is your outer. That's what the world sees. But your inner is the thing closest to your skin. It's your intimate layer. It's your true self. It's your dignity, your heart. So taking someone's outer garment was a humiliation move again, because they're stripping them from their quote unquote public social identity class, right? It's dominance, shaming, a way to strip your honor, exposing vulnerability. It's sort of the equivalent of like, I'm ripping your badge off. I'm stripping your rank. I'm humiliating you in front of others. I'm taking away. I'm marching you out the door after you've been fired. Grab your little box of effects. Security is marching you out of the office, right? When you're fired in front of everyone. It is stripping you of your social, public status, hierarchy, and identity. That's a defiance move, not a niceness move. Okay, so giving your inner garment. Okay, here's the other thing. In the ancient Near East, if someone sees you naked, okay, in the West, okay, if I'm standing here in front of my bedroom window, right, and I take my clothes off, right, and the neighbor sees me undressing, okay, or I run out in my underwear and water my plants, right, and the neighbor sees me, I'm embarrassed, and I hold that shame because you're naked in public, right? The shame is on you. In the ancient Near East, no. Nakedness, the shame is on the one who looks, not on the one who's naked. Nakedness is a human thing. It's your human form. You're created by God. Nakedness is not a point of shame. The person who looks at your nakedness to humiliate you, the looker is the person who is shamed. So when Jesus says, give them the inner garment, you're exposing their shame, not yours. It's a defiance move. If you gave someone your inner garment, you would be naked. In the biblical world and in the law, the shame of nakedness falls on the one who looks. So this is the same energy. Is you don't get to drag me into your kingdom. You don't get to rewrite my behavior. I'm staying in my integrity. This is strategic exposure. Same thing as turn the other cheek. Both are non-mirroring, defiant, very, very defiant, and deeply anchored. They're exposing the aggressor's behavior and shaming them without violence, retaliation, judgment, and collapsing categories. That's the Davidic ethic. The coat shirt is not about niceness, like give them everything you have, money-wise. It's about jurisdiction. He's saying, don't retaliate. That's their kingdom. Don't collapse into fear. We don't have fear here. We know who we are. It is. Don't mirror their aggression. Don't take God's seat. Don't judge them. That's not your jurisdiction. God judges, not you. But don't let them define your honor. They don't get to do that. They're not even in your kingdom. So the outer garment is what they see, but the inner garment is your private dignity, your core. If someone tries to strip you of your public honor or shame you socially, respond in a way that exposes their injustice, but preserves your integrity. You're refusing to be shaken out of covenant behavior. In Middle Eastern culture, giving is not generosity. It's not about money. Gosh, everything in America is about money, right? How much you have, how much stuff you've accumulated in this consumer world. You got to lose the consumerism view to put yourself back. There was no rabid consumerism in Jesus' time. Okay, that's not what he's talking about. It's about honor. He's not saying be a doormat. Okay, this is why. This is why you can't compliment a Saudi often without them offering the item. Like if you walk up to somebody in Saudi and you're like, oh, wow, that's a really nice coat. Oh, would you like it? Like they give it to you. It's really funny. You have to be careful how you compliment people because they'll start handing you shit. It's crazy. Because in their culture, if you're admiring something, they must offer it. Not because they're nice, because that's the honor of giving. This is the same horizontal logic. Give and don't ask back. It's not about niceness, about honor. The taker is the one that is in shame. The giver is the one in honor. The demander is in disgrace. The one who releases is in dignity. Demanding is shameful, giving is honorable. This is why Jesus' teaching can't be read as just be nice. He's roasting the priesthood, dismantling the elites, exposing corruption, mocking their purity logic, tearing down their authority. Guys, a man in a tuxedo driving a Maybach is acting out the Sermon on the Mount, Sermon on the Plain in a Riyadh driveway better than most Western Christians or Jews ever have and ever will. What does that say to you? How far we've gotten with our quote-unquote Judeo-Christian values about Paul. And boy, are we going to talk about that one in Paul's paganism next. Now, line 36. Be compassionate, just as your Father is compassionate. Do not judge, and you will not be judged. Do not condemn, and you'll not be condemned. Forgive, and you'll be forgiven. Give, and it will be given to you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, will be poured into your lap. For by what measure you measure, it will be measured in return. Somehow Christians get confused, and it says, be compassionate as your Father is compassionate. But if we tie line 36 to line 35, share this tab instead, it makes a lot more sense. I don't know why they separate it here. Okay. Love your enemies, do good, expecting nothing in return. Then your reward will be great, and you'll be sons of the Most High, for he is kind to the ungrateful and evil. Be compassionate, just like your Father is compassionate. Next part, don't judge, and you will not be judged. Okay? This paragraph need not be broken here. We've talked about this before, how the translators do that to jankify shit. But in this line, it doesn't say do not judge and God will not judge you. That's not what this says. There is no God between line 37 and line 38. There's no God here. God is in 36, which belongs with 35. Talking about how you're sons of the Most High because you're compassionate, like your Father's compassionate. That's the whole point. We're talking about the community. Don't judge, and you will not be judged. If you don't judge your neighbor won't judge you. If you don't condemn your neighbor in the community, you will not be condemned by your neighbor in the community. This isn't saying forgive and God will forgive you. We know the word God. God is not here. Okay, God's not here. God's up here. It's the last point. This is the next point. And we know this when we get to give, and it'll be given to you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, will be poured onto your lap. Okay, context, guys. And I'm going to share this context with you right now. So the verses in Luke, we have three key Greek verbs here in Luke 6:37. Okay? They're not synonyms. They're jurisdictional actions. Jesus is telling his kingdom covenant people which jurisdiction they are not allowed to step into and which jurisdiction they are to stay anchored in. And we're going to take these one by one. Okay? First one, in our kingdom, in this covenant, do not judge. In context, this verb means do not render a verdict, classify someone, and assign them to a category. This is not about having opinions, using discernment, and not noticing and calling out bad behavior. Jesus calls out bad behavior all the time. This is, do not put yourself in the role of the judge who assigns someone's identity or destiny. You never know what's coming down the path. Their life path is theirs, not yours. Boy, would Christians judge me when I was an asshole. I'm still an asshole. But when I was struggling and I was wild and doing stupid shit and on all kinds of drugs and living like I was crazy person, boy, did they judge me. You don't have the Holy Spirit. You're not hell. I was dealing with all my stuff. Oh, my goodness. Can you imagine the judgment that came upon me? But I walked out with my freaking covenant, guys, in hand. Scroll in hand. Don't put yourself in the role of judge who assigns someone's identity or their destiny. Okay? Doesn't mean don't call them out on bad behavior. Don't declare who's in or out. Don't declare who's righteous or wicked. Don't declare who God is going to accept or reject. That's a big one. That's a big one. As soon as you do this, don't declare who God accepts or rejects. You are breaking so many commandments with that one. Bearing false witness. You have no idea what God is doing. Just saying. Don't collapse categories. Don't step into God's jurisdiction. And what I mean by that is I don't mean Zion, the kingdom of Zion, kingdom of David. I mean, don't step into God's role within his kingdom jurisdiction. God is the judge, not you. Does that make sense? God passed the scepter to King Jesus, not you. This is a warning, not a be nice command. Be like God. Don't take his job. Mirror God. Don't take his job. All right, our next verb is do not condemn. This is to pass sentence. Declare guilty. This is all courtroom language, guys. To enact punishment. This is all legal terms here. Don't act like the temple court. Don't act like the Sanhedrin, the priesthood. You're not here to issue verdicts and punish. This is Jesus saying, you are not the temple. You are not the court. You are not the judge. Stay in your lane. God does that, not you. Release, dismiss, set free. I love this one. Every time I go to clear space, if you listen to my growling videos, I always say, release, dismiss. You are dismissed. You no longer have jurisdiction in this space. You're releasing them from obligation, letting go, dismissing a charge, freeing someone from your bondage of your chain. It's the opposite of condemning them. Let them go. Release them for your claim. They're not in your court. Do not keep them in your jurisdiction. This is not just forgive them because you're nice. This is you don't get to hold people in your courtroom because you don't have a courtroom. That's what that means, okay? So putting it all together, don't classify them, deciding who's in or out. We're not sentencing people. We don't get to punish or declare guilt and release people from claim. Don't hold them in your courtroom because you don't have a courtroom. God does. This is not about being nice, soft, agreeable, or pretending nothing's wrong. And it's not even about don't call out bad behavior. That's not the judging we're talking about. We're talking courtroom legal language here. And now we're going to go look at Paul's behavior. On the surface, we're not going to go terribly deep here because we'll get there eventually. But if you look at Pauline Christianity and Paul's behavior, he's doing the exact opposite. Not as moral judgment, but as a category observation here. Paul says, I hand this man over to Satan. That's literally classifying them, condemning them, sentencing them, and jurisdictionally transferring them of who's in and he's doing all these things. Who's in and who's out. He's punishing them. He's condemning them. He's courtroom and executioner all in one. Okay, Paul? That's not the Davidic kingdom. You're not in the kingdom, Paul. This is the opposite. He's deciding who's in and out. Those inside the church, God judge. Those outside, I judge. Expel the wicked person from among you. Mark those who cause division. Avoid them. Dude, Paul is doing exactly what Jesus said don't do. Those outside, I judge. Like, who the hell are you, Paul? Who the hell are you, Paul? Expel the wicked from among you. Well, God just said God is kind to the wicked, right? Didn't Jesus say that? Don't step out of your kingdom. Where did Jesus say that? Let's remember. Let's remember. Let's remember. Your reward will be great, and you will be sons of the Most High, for he is kind to the ungrateful and the evil and the wicked. Paul's like, nope, don't be nice to those. Kick them out. Give them to Satan. This is category assignment. This is exact same thing that Jesus is forbidding in the Davidic Covenant kingdom. Paul creates a new binary, Jew versus Gentile. In Christ or out of Christ. There's another one he invents. This is judging and classifying at a cosmic scale. So Paul does this in two ways, right? In the quote-unquote earthly realm, he's dividing people by Jew and Gentile. Everybody gets different rules. But no, you can be in Christ or out of Christ in the cosmic realm. You see this division that he's doing? Jesus never created a binary. James never created a binary. Paul throws people out. Okay? Paul throws people out. This is condemnation and exclusion. Paul claims he has the authority to punish. What do you want? Shall I come with a rod? I will not spare those who sinned earlier. I deliver them to Satan so they may learn. Excuse me, Paul? Fuck you. This is sentencing language. Paul claims the right to define covenant identity. You are Abraham's seed if you are in Christ. Really? Which Christ? The Logos Christ? I don't think so. We're going to talk about the Logos Christ and why the Hellenists tried to kill you over in Paul's paganism, Paul. That's a problem. That's a big problem of which Christ. Because if you go back to the book, we talked about the Logos, and also in Luke, when we defined the Logos earlier in Luke, it's a Hellenistic idea, right? It's this Greek-ized entity. But yeah, so then you think, okay, Hellenized. But yet the Hellenists are trying to kill him in Acts 9. Why? That's sort of the question we're going to look deeply at coming up in Paul's paganisms and how that hashes out. But anyway, you're Abraham's seed if you are in quote unquote Logos Christ entity thing. We are the true circumcision. Those who follow the law are under a curse. This is assigning identity categories and then spiritualizing them and moralizing them. Political Persian categories. He's spiritualizing and moralizing Persian legal temple categories. That's what he's doing. He literally does everything Jesus says not to do. Don't judge, don't condemn, release, and stay out of the courtroom. Stay out of the judgment seat. Paul, I judge, I condemn, I hand people over, I expel, I classify, I define who's in and out. This is why everybody hates Christians, because they're following Paul, and they do all of these things, but they claim they don't do these things. You see how that works? Because they're like, well, Pauline Christians are like, well, we judge, we condemn, we hand people over to Satan, we expel them, we classify them, we define who's in and out. But then we tack Jesus' name to on it and say, well, but we're not judging, condemning, releasing people, and we're not really doing that. Like they practice Paul and then wave a Jesus flag. Just say Jesus and then claim that they're doing the other thing. But they're opposite kingdoms and opposite jurisdictions. Okay, I told you about that measure out. Measure out, and it will be given to you and poured out upon you. Oh gosh, let's read it. I'm so bad at memorizing verses. It's really sucky. Where's that part? All right, give, and it will be given to you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, will be poured into your lap. By what measure you measure, it'll be measured to you in return. Okay, I said that this is one of our clues, other than those other verbs, right? One of the clues that he's talking about intercommunity here Because this grain measure image is not talking about God, guys. It's an economic metaphor. Okay, this is not a spiritual vending machine from God. In the ancient Near East, grain was measured in baskets, scoops, and jars. And the quality of the measure depended on the honesty of the merchant. If you've ever sifted flour, right, or measured something with flour, you understand this, right? You can pack it down in there and have more, or you can lightly fluff it and have less. So the quality of the measure depends on the honesty of the merchant. A righteous merchant would press the grain down, shake it to remove the air pockets, fill it to the brim, and let it overflow. But a corrupt merchant leaves all those gaps, uses a smaller measure, skims off the top, and cheats the poor. So he's invoking their laws against them in public to our remember our audiences, right? He's referring back to Leviticus and Deuteronomy, which are laws that the Persian temple priesthood put in place about honest weights and measures. So he's calling them hypocrites in front of everybody by quoting their own law. It's about economic justice, not God will give you money if you're nice. Okay, that's not what this is. God will forgive you if you forgive your neighbor. That's not what this is. It's not talking about God, if you forgive, God forgives you. Okay, he's talking about intercommunity. With the measure you measure, okay, you, the community. It's not God's going to give back individually. If you give 10, God gives 100. That's not what he's saying. With the measure you measure, this is social reciprocity. He's talking about community ethics, not personal blessing. In the Middle Eastern covenant culture, social inclusion, generosity, forgiveness, mercy, fairness in economics are community-wide systems, not individual vertical culture acts. Remember, horizontal culture, vertical culture. So he's saying if your community uses stingy, suspicious, punitive measures, Paul, that's the culture you have to live in. If your community uses generous, merciful, abundant measure, that's the culture you're all going to benefit from. This is structural, not individual. Americans miss this because vertical culture, everything's individualized. Okay? American Christianity assumes God, me, my blessing, my giving, my return. But he's speaking in plural interpretives to a collective. Remember our audience. He's describing the economy, the justice system, the ethic, the communal culture alive and operating. He's describing the kingdom constitution, the operating system of the Davidic kingdom, which is that third path outside of that binary. Okay, this isn't a personal salvation, personal prosperity loop. It's the way we do things in the kingdom. That's what Jesus is saying. This is the way we do things. This is what the Davidic kingdom operates on. So why do Christians insist on imitating Paul instead of Jesus? Paul's system is clear, binary, enforceable, hierarchical, institutional. It's easy to police. It's easy to weaponize. But Jesus' system is relational, covenant, non-mirroring, non-coercive, decentralized, integrity-based. It's impossible to institutionalize Jesus' kingdom. Paul gives you a courtroom. Jesus gives you a kingdom. Institutions prefer courtrooms, not cultures. So Jesus is basically saying, don't be God, but act like God. He also doesn't erase free will. He doesn't pretend that everyone's in his kingdom. So 639 to 49. This isn't general moral advice. It's a covenant lawsuit. But American readers treat this whole section like be nice, be humble, build your life on Jesus. But in the ancient Near East, Middle Eastern frame, Jesus is doing something very specific in the part coming up. He's indicting Israel's leadership as failed shepherds. And he's warning the crowds that following them in their temple religion is going to get them killed. 639 to 49 is prophetic courtroom language, not Hallmark wisdom. Let's go see if we can read that right now. Share this tab instead. So he spoke to them a parable. Can I get rid of this? Can you go away, please? Where's my X? Here's my X, way over there. Okay. He spoke to them also a parable. Can a blind man lead a blind man? Now put this in context of his audience. Who's he talking about? He's talking about the priesthood, the temple, the elites, the Pharisees. Won't they both fall into a ditch? A student is not above his teacher, but everyone, when fully prepared, will be like his teacher. Think of his audience. He's talking to the disciples, right? Becoming apostles. A student is not above his teacher, but when fully prepared, they'll be like his teacher. Why do you look at the speck in the eye of your brother, but don't notice the beam in your own? How can you say to your brother, let me take out the speck, when you yourself don't see the log in your own eye, you hypocrite? First, take out the log of your own, then you'll see clearly to take the speck out of your brother's. It is not a good tree that bears bad fruit, nor again a bad tree that bears good fruit. Each tree is known by its fruit. They do not gather figs from thorn bushes, nor pick grapes from brambles. The good person out of the good treasure of his heart produces good, and the wicked out of his wicked treasures produces evil. For the abundance of the heart, his mouth speaks. He's talking about that inner garment. Remember, your honor, your integrity, your inner garment. What's there on the inside of you? Why do you call me Lord, Lord, and don't do what I say? Everyone who comes to me and hears my words and does them, I'll show you who he's like. He's like a man building a house who dug deep and laid the foundation on the bedrock, and when the flood arose, the river broke against that house but could not shake it because it had been well built. But the one who hears and doesn't do them is like a man building a house on the ground without a foundation. And when the river burst against it, immediately it fell. And the ruin of that house was great. So yes, this is very easy to individualize, right? And we all understand that. But for a time, put it in the context of the audiences that we discussed in previous sessions. He's calling out the priesthood, guys. So with that, I think we're done with the day for the day. I think the end of Luke is pretty self-explanatory, so we're not going to beat that dead horse. But I do want to ask people to put it in context of the three audiences that we're discussing. And Jesus attacking the organized religion. So where do we go next? Well, next, we did all of our lessons in our kingdom constitution. We're going to take a look. We're going to run over to Paul's paganism. And we're going to take a look at, we're going to do 2 sessions over there. I hope it takes only 2, where we look at a little bit about the Logos and the Hellenists, plus Stephen. And look at that part in Acts, where he talks about Stephen. And Stephen gives that long speech, right? And see if we can put that into a little more context. Understanding all of this. And then we're going to move back to Luke 7 and 8, I hope. At some point in there, we've got to definitely do Solomon before we get to Luke 9, okay? So expect that. I'm going to throw that down probably in the Apotheosis series, which is sort of a random bucket. So we'll do 7 and 8. We'll get through Solomonic demonology a little bit, which will take us on a rabbit hole there, and Samson. Be ready for the Davidic kingdom, resurrection, and eternal life. Not the Pauline one, because we report, but you decide. We'll see how this all fits together, and I'll see you next time.
Cannot fuck with this energy. You cannot fuck with this energy.